This video is sponsored by Squarespace. How's it going, guys? Vincent here from thecreativedojo.net. Welcome to another video tutorial. Today in this video, we're actually going to bring it back to the basics here. We're actually going to be creating kind of a simple 2D style animation, roughly like 3 seconds long. No fancy 3D plugins, no fancy particle plugins, just simple After Effects built-in tools here. We're going to be creating this kind of basic poppy transition right here. So these nice text transitions, these pops, this main transition, and kind of just get people familiar with After Effects and some of the tools built into After Effects for animation. So this is not going to be like an expert or intermediate tutorial. This is going to be, kind of for the beginners out there, but it kind of gives you an idea how to create these kind of clean, simple animations for a lot of your motion projects and, your Instagrams or YouTube intros and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool technique here. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new composition. We'll call this our main composition. It's going to be 1920 by 1080, 24 FPS, and roughly 5 seconds long. Hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command and Control Y to create a new solid. We'll call this BG. Make sure it's comp size and hit OK. And this is going to be kind of like this nice brownish beige color here. And I'm going to make a kind of a title logo for our fictitious kind of brewing company. So I'm going to create the kind of text in 3 separate layers here in this case. So I want to create, the brewing company. So I'm going to separate these things into 3 separate text layers. So I'm going to create a new layer, new text layer. And we will call this one the. And I'm going to use kind of like a nice thick heavy font here. So, something like that. And we'll hit Control Command D to duplicate it. And I'm going to call this brewing, and we'll just duplicate this. We'll call this company, and they're all jumbled up here. So I'm going to hit P on the keyboard to bring up the position, and I will move these two to the right a little bit. Let's see, move this kind of like over here, and then move company a little over right here, so we kind of get this nice text line here. Nothing fancy. This is not even a logo really, but it should give you kind of the idea here. You can kind of space it out, use some math to space it out evenly here. I'm not going to do that. And then once we have all that, I'm just going to reposition this. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the action title save here. And I'm going to just kind of like eyeball it, just kind of center it up a little bit. Somewhere right there. And then I'm going to create another new text layer here. This is going to be established 1968 or something, just some hipster looking logo, some hipster looking text. And we will choose a different weight here, so maybe like a medium weight. And we're going to scale it down like this. We will reposition this a little bit, center it up. Once you have this, we can go ahead and begin animating this here. So what I want to do is I want to, first of all, stagger these, because right now these text layers are all occurring at the same time. You could easily just take one and just move them over, and move them over. So they kind of just pop up at different times here. But I have a tool for this. This is actually a new tool, or an updated version of a tool here. So I have the Dojo Shifter version 2 script that I created. This is actually a name your own price script. So you can actually grab it for whatever price you want, including free if you want to, get it for free here. But basically it's a really cool tool that will allow you to offset layers, trim start time, end times, offset keyframes, properties. You can randomize staggering and stuff like that. You can also have the option to ease things in. So in this case, I want to offset pretty much the whole title right here. So the brewing company, I want to offset these layers in time. I want to offset them by 3 frames. I don't want to have a nice exponential ease right here. I want to go ahead and animate the position first. So I'm going to hit P on the keyboard and select the stopwatch for all of the text layers right here. I'm going to ignore the established text for now. I'm going to move forward in time, like maybe like 1 second, hit a keyframe for all of them. So now I have 2 keyframes, nothing's happening. I'm gonna go to the original keyframes here and move all the text layers down a little bit. So we have this kind of raising up kind of look here. And then I'm going to go and select all these keyframes here, just highlight them, hit F9 on the keyboard, go to the graph editor, and I'm going to add a nice little ease. This will just kind of give everything more life to the animation here. So what we have now is basically our nice text just kind of like raising up from the bottom. And so now we can stagger these layers. So I'm gonna use my script here. And so now they kind of stagger at different times. And this is cool, this is cool. So what we can do to make it more interesting is we can actually cut it off to the very, very end. So I'm going to select all these layers here, and I'm just going to trim the start time a little bit. And so what we have now is something very simple, very clean, took like 5 seconds to do. And you have this really nice kind of like text transition here very quickly, very easily. You can fade them in if you want. I'm kind of digging the style right now lately, so I'm gonna keep it like this. And then so once everything is kind of like in frame, this is when I kind of want to start sliding in the established 1968. So this is where I want it to be. I'm going to hit a keyframe for it, for the position. I'm gonna move forward a few frames here, and I'm gonna move it to the left a little bit. Again, we're gonna go hit F9 on the keyframes to ease them. And then we're gonna refine the ease. Let's kind of pull these handles a little bit to kind of give you that nice subtle ease. We're gonna RAM preview it to kind of get the timing down. So as you can see, the timing is not quite right. So we can shift these over a little bit. And we're gonna trim this layer just like the ones before. We're gonna make it pop at the last minute. And so what we have now is just something like this. You can kind of refine this a little bit. It's kind of too choppy for my opinion a little bit, but you can always go and refine this here. So we have this kind of basic title slide, right? And so what I want to do is I want to select everything that we have. I'm going to go and select layer, pre-compose, move all attributes into the new composition, and we'll call this shot 01. And this is going to be like our first scene here. Actually, I'm going to go back into shot 1. We forgot one thing. I want to make all the layers except for the background layer a 3D layer here. So I'm going to select this 3D layer cube right here. And if you don't see this, go ahead and just toggle the switch / modes, and you should see the cube right here, and just make it a 3D layer. And that way we can actually create a subtle movement, because right now this is kind of like static. Nothing's really happening. I want to create kind of like a panning movement. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new camera. Call this camera. We'll make it a 35mm camera. Not that it really matters in this case. Hit OK. And so now we have a camera. And so now we can add subtle movement to this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go somewhere right here. Hit P on the keyboard for the camera. Hit a stopwatch. Go towards the end here and just bring it back a little bit so that we have this kind of like zooming dolly effect. So we do a quick RAM preview. You can see that we're kind of coming towards the camera. It might be a little too much, so we can tone it down. And I don't want to make these Bezier keyframes here. I want to keep them kind of linear. So we just have this nice, subtle movement. And then once we have that, I think this is looking pretty good. We can actually go into our project panel right here. And we can actually, you know, duplicate this. I kind of want to borrow everything from here. So I'm going to go and edit layer duplicate. And we'll call this shadow 2. We'll go in here. This is the exact same thing. But I'm going to change the background to a different color here. So I'm going to go for kind of like this nice, kind of like muted purple color here. So now what I want to do is I want to change the text in this composition. So I'm going to delete the brewing. I'm going to keep company just so I know where the original text was and the exact font size and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I can see that the Y position is 530. So I'm just going to delete these keyframes here for the company here. And I'm just going to go and center this up. And I'm going to change the text to opening soon. Something like that. And we still have this established text here. I'm going to change this to as a random date. So 0301. I don't know, 2021 or something. And I'm gonna go ahead and delete these keyframes as well. I wanna change the animation here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit a keyframe for the date and then move forward and we'll bring it down. So basically our date is kind of coming up like this. We'll trim this a little bit and we'll move everything forward. So we'll move the coming soon text to the very, very beginning. We'll move the date text pretty far up. So what we have now is coming soon, and then we have this date. Coming soon, date. We can even move it up a little bit more and tighten the keyframes up a little bit. And then we'll ease this, go to the graph editor, same thing, add some nice little easing. You can also use my Dojo ease script, which will be a lot handier than this. And so now back into the main composition here, we still have our shot 01 in our main comp. I'm gonna drag our shot 02 into the active comp. And so basically now it's like an editor, right? We have our shot 01 and then our shot 02 is underneath it. But you can't see it right now. And so now what we want to do is we want to transition scene 1 or shot 1 to reveal shot 2 here. And we can do that building a quick matte transition. So I'm gonna create a new composition. This is gonna be called transition matte. And let's go ahead and hit OK. And here we're gonna design our transition. And there's many transitions that you can do. You can do like diagonal lines, whatever. I'm gonna create a new background. Make sure it's black because most maps are like grayscale values. And we're gonna go ahead and create a new shape layer. And so once we have a new shape layer, it's empty. Let's go ahead and add a, add an ellipse and add a stroke. And so in the stroke settings, we can increase the stroke width just so you can kind of see what's going on here. And we have the size, which controls the elliptical size of the shape layer. So what we want to do is, we also want to add a trim path. And this will allow us to animate the path right here. So this is the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set the end keyframe here, 200%. We'll move forward 1 second long. Actually like 1.5 seconds long. And we will animate this. So let's go ahead and just flip this around. So we start at 0 and we end at 100. So we start at 0% for the end, and we will go and animate to 100% here. And once again, we'll hit F9 easy ease. We will go to the graph editor, just add a nice little quick ease like that. And right now the angle's at 0 degrees. We want to just change it up. So we'll just start, I don't know, 55 degrees. So what we have is this nice little wipe. I don't like this little sharp end here. So under the stroke, we can actually, for the line cap, we can go round cap. So it's nice and round. And so this is what we're going to be animating here. I'm going to call this circle. And so we're going to start off with a pretty small circle right here. Hit keyframe for the size. We'll move forward. And we're just going to increase the size up like that. And hit F9 easy ease. We'll also, again, add a nice little ease. So we have the scaling circle. And now at the same time we're doing this, I also want to animate the stroke width. So we'll animate the stroke width right here in the stroke. We'll set it to 0. At the beginning, we'll move forward to the end, and I want it to be pretty thick. I want it to fill most of the frame. Kind of like that. And we'll also ease the stroke width. So we have this kind of like wipe. This is kind of what we want, but we also want to make 2 of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this circle, hit Control Command D. For this one, I'm gonna hit U to show all the properties that we've edited. And for this one, we'll go ahead and open up the trim paths once again. And for the offset, we'll just change the offset to something else here. Let's just do like a -125. For this one, I want the size, the starting size to be different, right? We want to add some variation to this. So as you can see, if I increase the size to, let's just say, the initial keyframe to be like 600 or whatever, it's going to be bigger. And the end size should cover the rest of the frame here. Basically, you want to cover the whole frame, just like this. So what we have now is kind of like this fat transition here. Maybe we can increase the size or decrease the initial size of the first one to maybe like 140. Basically, you're just fine tuning this to create a nice little wipe just like this. And this is basically all we need. So back into the main comp, we're gonna bring in that transition mat. We're gonna hit toggle switches / modes until you see the track mat right here. We're gonna make sure that the transition mat is above our shot 01. And then we're gonna set the shot 01 track mat from no track mat to Luma inverted mat. And now you're gonna see that the shot 01 is gonna use the black and white values of the transition mat and use that to kind of animate this whole thing on here. So it looks a little off because it's kind of cutting out the shot 01 and there's nothing underneath that layer. But if we move the transition mat to the correct time here, so basically this is our shot 01, and then when the transition starts, it's gonna wipe off shot 01. And luckily underneath it, we have shot 02. So now we can see shot 02. So basically shot 01, the transition mat starts, it wipes off shot 01 based on the black and white values to reveal underneath it the shot 02. So we have something like this. But this is kind of the general idea. And we can kind of add some accent pops to this scene really quickly by adding some shape layers here. So same thing, we'll add a new shape layer. We're gonna add an ellipse. We're gonna add a stroke. And we're going to the stroke and ellipse path. We will go ahead and increase the stroke width a little bit. And so what I want to do is I want to animate this. So I'm going to focus just on the shape layer. We're going to call this pop. And I'm just going to design one pop element, but you can do a lot of different pop elements like explosion, little dash explosion and stuff like that. I'm going to keep it simple in this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and animate the size to 0. We'll move a second in. We'll set it to like 115. And so we have this little popping animation, and I want to animate the stroke as well. So the stroke is going to be set to something thick, like 50. And then as we reach the end here, it's going to taper off to 0. And again, we're going to go ahead and hit F9 to ease these keyframes. Go to the graph editor, give it that nice curve. So what we have now is a simple little pop. And we can go ahead and decrease the timing a little bit. And so now we have a pop. Now I'm going to go make sure that you have show layer controls on. And we can just place this one here. Hit Control Command D. Maybe like bring one right here. We can scale it down. Duplicate it. Put one like down here. Scale it down, duplicate it, bring one like up here, hit S on the keyboard to scale it up, and maybe one last one down here, scale it down. And I'm gonna go ahead and select all of our pop layers, and actually no, we're just gonna stagger them manually here. We can just kind of like randomly kind of offset them and just kind of push them in time as to when they would pop. And so it's just a quick little accent to kind of add some flair to your intro right here. So we just really quickly added these nice little pops, and then let's go back to the main comp here. So what we have now is nice little popping animation, transition, opening soon or coming soon. And, you know, everything's nice and clean. And of course, the timing's a little bit off in this one, but, you know, you kind of get the general idea. Just play with the keyframes, add some of your own elements into it, and you can create a very clean Nice little intro like this. Very simple, very clean for whatever you need to do. This should kind of get you started with After Effects and 2D animation. So a pretty cool tutorial. Before I go, I want to give a quick thanks to our sponsors over at Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is the only one platform to create an amazing website, whether it's for your store, online business, or portfolio. They have amazing, customizable, beautifully crafted themes to choose from, fully customizable so you can make it the way you want it to look like without any coding knowledge required. They have amazing customer support, amazing prices. Best of all, if you use the promo code Dojo at checkout, you can actually save 10% off your order. So check it out over at squarespace.com/dojo. Squarespace, the #1 place to create an amazing website. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is how you create a very, very simple 2D style animation within After Effects. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated here. I only added one little accent pop right here. I only use like 2 colors in this animation, but if you added more colors, added more accents, and quick subtle animation, secondary animation, stuff like that, you can kind of create a very, very interesting, dynamic, simple and clean animation for your title designs, for your social media campaigns and email marketing campaigns and stuff like that. So just a quick tutorial for those beginners out there trying to look into starting animation and then After Effects, and stuff like Dojo Shifter and scripts like that can help you save time. So check it out over at creativedojo.net. So that's pretty much it, guys. My name is Vincent Nguyen from the Creative Dojo, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.